After Donald Trump won the US election, the Yes California Independence campaign wanted to begin an initiative to make it so that California became separate from the rest of the United States. The hashtag CaliExit began trending worldwide. It's extremely unlikely that California would separate from the United States, but let's imagine, at least for the next few minutes, what would happen if it did. Today, Life's Biggest Questions asks, what if California left the United States? Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions, the channel that imagines the impossible. I'm your host, Charlotte Dobre, and make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and ask us a question in the comments below. California would not be the first state to leave the United States. Back in the 1860s, 11 southern states seceded from the Union, but then they rejoined after the Civil War. For California to leave the United States, they would have to vote on a ballot in favor of leaving the United States. The Yes California Independence campaign wanted California to be recognized as a nation within a nation. The example they used was Scotland within the United Kingdom. But for the sake of this video, we will examine the possibility of California becoming its own sovereign nation. Instead of paying their taxes to the American government, Californians would keep all the taxes collected within their own country. This would result in a substantial budget increase because Californians have paid more taxes than they've received in federal payouts every year since 1995. That probably has to do with the fact that there are a large number of millionaires and billionaires living within California. Hollywood and Silicon Valley provide a large fraction of tax dollars to the American government. The tax dollars that were formerly sent to the US government would be used to build better, futuristic infrastructure. Imagine this: high-speed Hyperloop trains that would be built across the country, making long commutes a thing of the past. California would be adorned with skyscrapers that use green energy, with vegetation and plants growing within them. Each building would essentially be its own ecosystem. Californians would probably develop their own form of currency, perhaps a cryptocurrency. But as we saw with Brexit, leaving the European Union drastically affected the UK economy. The pound dropped to a 31-year low. As a result, Britain's economy was no longer the 5th biggest in the world, it became the 6th. That being said, the US dollar as a whole will also go down in value. One downside to California leaving the rest of the US is that Californians actually don't get their water from their own state. Most of the water Californians drink comes from Colorado, specifically the Colorado River. Snow and rain falls in the Colorado mountains, then flows down to California. It's been that way for 94 years. But if California left the United States, who knows what would happen? Perhaps Colorado would divert the water back to its own state, leaving California with the task of finding a different source. Perhaps all those billions of tax dollars would have to be spent on importing water from Colorado, or even Canada. Maybe California and Canada will become close trade partners, and import and export food, water, gas, and other goods within them. That being said, California's agriculture industry is huge, the biggest in the United States. It supplies much of the food to the rest of America. If Americans shut off their water, California could respond by shutting off the food supply, creating a trade war. This would cause the price of fruits and vegetables for the rest of America to skyrocket. Furthermore, the taxes Americans pay would also skyrocket to make up for the fact that they aren't receiving taxes from the wealthy Californians anymore. Maybe another economic recession would also take place. Furthermore, not everyone would give up their American passports willingly. Like with other examples where countries have broken apart, there would likely be many Californians who would flee California to keep being Americans. The thing is, the United States doesn't even recognize secessionists. Following the Civil War in 1869, the Supreme Court made it so that any state that rebelled against the United States would have to win a war against the rest of the country in order to be considered its own sovereign nation. And although California does have a huge military presence, it's an American military presence all the same. Californians would have to commandeer US bases like the Vandenberg Air Force Base and threaten the United States with ballistic missiles. Yes, California does have its own state military reserve, but it likely couldn't win in a war against America as a whole. In conclusion, a Cali exit probably wouldn't happen in real life. But that's what people said about Brexit and a Donald Trump presidency. Who knows what the future will bring? For now, I'm Charlotte Dobre, and you've been watching Life's Biggest Questions. If you like this video, you'll love our playlist, Biggest What Ifs. And don't forget to subscribe to notifications so you never miss another video.